things that we've been working on this week is a request for proposals that is going to be a facilities study, which is going to look at every one of our buildings in both school districts, everything that affects the student. We're going to have them look at Casey Field. We're having a look at this building. We're having a look at the bus garage and everything that that has to do with the schools. One of the things is the new school in Covington. Yeah, it seems like a brand new school, but it's 10 years old, and it has heat pumps. It has 80 heat pumps in the building. It has all of these different things that have to be looked at. We need to look at. Luckily at Alleghany we have a new heating and cooling system there, but we just had to spend $160,000 on the controls for that. That was one of the things that would be seen in this full-out study, and it is like a complete study that looks at all of the different components of the building. So that part of it will be beneficial to us whether we agree to a consolidation plan or not. And also, if we do agree to a consolidation plan, that study might help us figure out which buildings we're going to use for what, and which things are what our costs would be going forward. And one thing we don't want is we don't want big surprises. And we feel like the transportation side of things, we won't see big surprises there. We kind of know what that is. And with this teacher thing, we feel like we won't see any big surprises there. Our facilities, that's why we're doing the study. I don't know where there can be many big surprises if we kind of cover all of these different avenues. So I would really like to say that I've been really impressed with our committee. It seems like everyone's gotten along really well and had positive things to say. We heard some not so nice things about our school systems, and some of the people that got up in our public comments period said some false things and said things that we didn't appreciate, but Gerald and I just sat there and bit our lips. But afterwards, a lot of those folks from Covington and stuff, they apologized that people said things like that, and were and I think that means a lot. That everybody has definitely been getting along, and while we talk about money a lot, we all know that we're really doing for the best interest of our students and our community.
It also gives us, at least it gives me some issues, is that when we first formed this group, there was three things that we were going to do: the salary equalization, a budget, and board makeup. Right? And as it turned out, when Terry was sitting there at that meeting that day in December, we asked him, and he wanted to make sure that the board of supervisors, the school boards, and the city council would go along with this thing, that we had their support, so we wouldn't leave them hanging out, by themselves. And the quagmire here is, the egg and chicken thing. If we don't, nobody wants to approve or say I'm for it until we have a plan. And you can't do the plan with just telling them, here we got equalization. They want all the grass things done, and that's not going to be an easy thing. That's going to take us some time. It's just I can't tell them which schools will close or where we're going to use Alleghany High School or Covington High School, or whoever it is, because we have never even went over that yet. But there's people want to know that, and I'm sure the city council and the board of supervisors are going to know that. And when I talked to Tom DeSapo, I didn't know this, but they spend over 50% of their city budget for schools. That's a lot. And I think this report says, 6 years? Or was it just a company made it? In 6 years, that it wouldn't be sustainable?
That's what he said. If they wouldn't be able to, their income over the next 6 years is supposed to be flat. Right. For the next 6 years. So
not be able to sustain the way it is now.
So if that's the case, just ask the question. The bulk of their money goes into salaries. We're going to now be lumped in that one basket of salaries. how long can we sustain it as a combined school system?
Hopefully, because one of the things we've talked to the state about, I thought, you know, when Terry was there, is say we have to have $1.5 million this year, okay? The carrot in front of the state is we may not need that the next years, because as we get more efficient, then we'll ask for less money because we won't need as much money. You know, I think it would be a tough sell for us to go tell Covington, you guys are going to have to bring your salary down here to where we're at.
It's not to do that. I'm agreeing with increasing salaries. If it's causing this much problem now, and we give a 2% raise, and they've got to pay 2% of 400 employees instead of 2% of 80 employees, that's going to impact them again. So at what point, somebody's got to look a little bit past where we're at now.
Right, that's what we asked. We want to look at this report, this budget thing, and make sure this, whatever we do, is sustainable. Because, you know, if we make it 6 years and then we have to go to the supervisors and say, okay, guess what? We need a lot more money. And they go to the people and say, we're going to have 40 cents a 100 tax thing. There's going to be a revolt. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that when the smoke clears, that we can sustain this budget. Okay? And the way it looks, we can do it through more, what do they call that?
Sentences?
Well, we'll have less, first we'll have less people, because we need less people. And we'll be able to do more because we buy more at one time. Okay? Scale, yeah. But it's just, Senator, Terry Austin asked us to get approval before we went to Richmond, okay? And I think we'd have a tough time. I know if I came to you guys, right? And we said, well, we can get money from the state, right? So the salaries be equalized, the budget we worked out, and we are hoping that we can, and that's going to be maybe another issue, is the board makeup. Because right now we have to change the law. We have to get the law changed so we can have, you know, 2 from each section and 3 at large. So there's a lot of iffy things here. It's just, you know, there's just no way we could get a board. You wouldn't vote for it, would you? If we came to you and said, you know, we want your approval to, you know, support for consolidation, and then I can't give you no answers, or and you take either one of us can give you answers except for the budget, maybe the board makeup, and salary equalization. There's a whole lot more stuff that's going to be done here.
This could be worse than Obamacare. Approve it, then we'll tell you what's in it. You know.
Well, now one of the things is that whatever we decide to do will all be based on us coming up with a final plan that gets approved by the Department of Education, and that's what it kind of comes down to. And it has to be approved by all 4. So one of the things that, you know, we know that this salary equalization thing is a big hurdle for us. So if we could get it figured out that they're going to help us with that, if we could get them to help us figure out, if we could get them to prove our board makeup, you know, and there are a couple of people, one member of our committee has asked that, you know, we come up with a whole plan before we ask for anything, but part of our plan is going to depend on whether they help us with these things, or if they're willing to change the state laws. Right now, the state laws for creating a school board are based on everybody being from the same locality, and you know, we had to create a cross-jurisdictional to vote cross-jurisdictionally. You know, you have to get it passed by the state. Well, we know that it works because our local sheriff is voted on that way. You know, the Commonwealth's attorney and all these different people. It happens around here. And actually, one of the things our attorneys did was they did a unintended consequences study. So it's basically means that they're looking at these different laws that would need to change, and how would that affect other communities if they changed as a state law? You know, would that screw somebody up or make something better? Because that's what happened last time. It was when Bedford County and Bedford City took advantage of the law that was changed for our proposed consolidation, and they got $80 million or whatever. So that's one of the things that they're a lot more cautious now, and they don't just give the lower composite index. That's not kind of a given thing anymore. And even if it was, Covington's is just a little bit higher than Alleghany, and it would only make about $150,000 a year. So that wouldn't make much of a difference for us anyways. But I think that I think over the next week, and I think before our meeting next Monday, I think that Tuesday, yes, sorry, that we should kind of have a better idea of where we are and where we stand with the state.
I'm going to say administratively, okay, I want to talk to Gerald's point. It's a balance between the egg and the chicken, okay? And I know this, when this occurred in Henry, which was an in-school division, the decision was made by the board to go ahead and do the consolidation. The details were worked out administratively, okay? Without that commitment from the 4 boards, okay, it's hard for me to ask my staff or our staff to work these extra hours constantly. And I've been going almost every Thursday night, okay? And so I understand it's important to have a basic plan, but the nitty-gritty needs to be worked out by the administrative teams. I was sort of like Randy's idea. It may be behoove both school divisions to take that money and hire somebody to come in to work on that. Otherwise, to ask any of our staff that's going to go beyond and do that to come up with a plan that may not succeed is a waste of time. And I think that's where all 4 boards have to make a commitment that we want to consolidate and then come up with a plan. And I do think there's some basic things there that need to be done, such as how is it going to get paid for, salary equalization, representation on the board, maybe building use. And then administratively, you come up with everything else. And I would maintain that until the cows come home. So.
Yeah,
We're not qualified to do that.
no,
I need to hire somebody.
and that's what we're having. Jim Regenball is going to help, and we talked to our attorneys about becoming a bigger part of things. This building utilization study, the facility study, that's all going to be done by an outside group. We're going to have, our attorneys are going to help us with finding some different professionals to help. We're going to need to ask some questions and things before we get this rough outline ready, before we kind of can propose it to our different boards. But, before we get too deep in the woods, in the weeds, we will.
Yes, good.
We will. But I think that right now our group has decided that we want our attorneys to help us out a little bit more. And Jim Regenball, after doing this study, he said that he would help us out doing some more stuff and kind of figuring out some of the transportation things. And, that's something I want to talk to Ben about, is the transportation things and getting those. Maybe Ben has a group that he would recommend that could look at that. Covington school bus routes are pretty small, and one of the things, it's like you said, the chicken and the egg, the building utilization, the transportation is based on that. There are so many things that kind of work simultaneously that all need to be figured out. It's not an easy thing, but I think we get the right people to help us, and I would commend Kevin and Gene and everybody that in our school system that has been very helpful to getting us to this place. And hopefully, if we don't come to an agreement, hopefully we will all at least learn some things and some things to help our school system.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? Okay, thank y'all. We do appreciate the work. I know y'all put a lot into it, a lot of nights, and we do appreciate it.